Hello, this is Our Money. My name is Dennis Bihus, and today's episode will not be a pity party. Happy people only. The first story is almost a tutorial on how to get the loyalty of your subordinates. It's no secret that judges often get governmental apartments, which they privatize later in incredibly short terms. We've dedicated a couple of episodes to this topic, but all those episodes were about judges. But the court staff, such as secretaries and accountants, rarely, extremely rarely, get so lucky. We found a court where they also take part in the gift festival. And by a surprising coincidence, it's about those people who have worked with the case auto distribution system exactly at the time when it was frequently messed with. Now, Marina Antsifoorova's story. Commercial courts. The place where business conflicts are resolved. But the final decision on who's going to keep the money belongs to the Supreme Commercial Courts of Ukraine. What do you think of your work here? It's everything for me. Being a judge of the Supreme Commercial Court gives you immense influence on business and on the flow of funds, so it was often attempted to be controlled. For example, through its case distribution system. Viktor Tatkov and Artury Milyanov, ex-head judge and his deputy, have been suspected of doing this for a year already. At the time, did you have access to the system? Could you make any changes? It's impossible. The head judge never did that. The computer system must randomly decide which judge gets the case, making sure the trial is fair. To have their judges on a case, the court's leadership meddled with the system from 2010 until 2014. Not directly, of course, but through loyal employees. It was surprising to find out that these people have practically fled. The suspicion culminated in Tatkov's flight from the country, while Milyanov still sees justice served as a regular judge. The criminal case is 1 year old. While the investigation tries to prove that the meddling with the distribution system was widespread, we found some interesting details. For example, the ex-head was very generous to his subordinates, to those who had access to the distribution system. The proof is a certain building in Kyiv. August 2010. Viktor Tatkov is still the head of Supreme Commercial Court and gathers a team there, made up of both judges and employees. I was invited by the head Tatkov, who moved here when he was assigned here. Then he offered me the position. I thought, why not? It's a once-in-a-lifetime proposition. Lyubov Solovyova, head accountant, came here from Donetsk to work with Tatkov in 2010. Already in 2011, she quickly and with little effort got a public apartment in the expensive Pechersk district. At that moment, I just moved from another region and needed an apartment. While my other colleagues lacked the status to get an ordered apartment, in my case, it was provided by the law.
Внеочередное жилье, то в моем случае это было так положено было по закону.
The Supreme Commercial Court is really nice. You are a judge, you get an apartment. You aren't a judge, you still get an apartment. In 2011, Solovyova direly needed improved housing at the court's expense. In a year, she privatized the public apartment and bought another one right away, the one next door. You bought it then, am I correct? Would you care to tell me at what price? Approximately? For up to $40,000. She was not the only non-judge who got a public apartment. Irina Halevets, deputy chief of staff, also became a lucky owner of an apartment in Kyiv. In our courts, A lot of government employees have received flats over the years. Irina Halivets also came here in 2010 and also got an apartment in a year, and she got it in the same building. When she quit in 2014, she also privatized the apartment. While the apartment is public, the person is entitled to use it only while on employment duty. When the employment duties were canceled, the apartment should have been returned and given to another employee. And she also invested in another apartment for her parents, door to door. I have a family, a husband and a child. How can I claim my parents' apartment? You must understand. They've planned accordingly. That's why they have a single-bedroom apartment. Usually, when the court wants to give someone a flat, it sends a request to the Kyiv State Administration Fund. But this time, it bought the apartment itself for state money. And the entire Tatkov's team got a present. Moreover, every worker to the case auto distribution system got an apartment too. Issuing a public apartment for a court clerk is extremely rare, but they got lucky under Tatkov. All of the apartments are in the same building. Anastasia Kurova, an auto distribution worker, even got the property rights for 2 apartments. Mrs. Kurova, I'm Marina from Our Money. Can you... I don't want to comment. A small interview about auto distribution. I don't want an interview. Please move aside. Anastasia, I need to talk to you. 2 apartments from the government. My child is waiting for me. I want to have an interview. Goodbye, thanks. Miroslava Romaniev, who worked at Tatkov's reception, has also moved into the building. What does the main specialist do? What are the main responsibilities? Practice the supervision, answering letters and requests. I was directly responsible for organizing the head's work and the entire court staffs. In 2011, Romaniev was transferred from an Ivano-Frankivsk court and immediately got an apartment from the Supreme Commercial Court. How much time passed between getting the position and getting the apartment? It was in 2011. It all happened in 2011. I can't tell you exactly. When did you start working at the court in 2011? You don't need to stand in a queue for years. You just have to work under the right person. Then you get the apartment on arrival. After this, privatization is just around the corner. In Romaniev's case, the apartment became private 2 years after she got it. A building in the Pechersk district, built by the order of the General Prosecutor's Office. Here, the court buys apartments for state money and gives them to deputies, accountants, and secretaries, despite the fact that only judges have the right to get an apartment from the court. Ina Aleyeva transferred to the Supreme Commercial Court from Donetsk in 2011. The same year, she had a housewarming party at her new public apartment. What do you think? Is it right to distribute court apartments to accountants, auto distribution workers, and non-judges in general, while they are meant for judges only? Well, our judicial life is busy. There are agencies which oversee this. This doesn't offend you? I don't even have time to think about this. According to the investigation, Aleyeva had twice or 3 times the number of cases a typical judge would get, exactly when the meddling with the distribution system was happening. You get a lot of cases compared to other judges. There are no criminal cases open against me. That's what I can say about this. You mean if it wasn't proved, I should just stop talking? I mean, there are no criminal cases against me. Given the office of a judge after a meeting with the head Judge Tatkov, this is the story of Volodymyr Porybnyak, another apartment owner in this building. He got the apartment in a couple of months, while he had to wait for 8 years at his previous workplace at a court in Kharkiv. Is the fact that these people received apartments in this building connected to their closeness to the leadership, including your boss? I can't comment now on how this is connected to their closeness. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Our hypothesis is supported by the fact that another judge, Nina Akulova, also got an apartment in the same building. According to the investigation, she was also among the top 5 busiest judges and was rewarded with an apartment from the court. I see your workload. You have significantly more than the other judges. Can you explain this, please? I presided over the cases I got. I presided over what I got, and I lived in what I got. The sudden apartment gift fest under Tatkov and meddling with the auto distribution system culminated in a massive privatization of said apartments. The saddest part is that people who were privileged under the previous government continue working under the current one, which doesn't seem to help rid the system of old staff. The fall vacation is over, and children are going back to school, some on a train and some on a plane with 2 transfers. Actually, no, our kids had charter flights. Marina and Siforova on places where the children of infamous people study. London, July 2017. PM Volodymyr Groysman states that Ukraine is in dire need of an education reform, but it's very expensive. A new law on education, that is, a new education system, would cost our country $3 billion. And a question arises on whether we can do it or not. Obviously, we can't afford it now. This means that the education reform would be postponed, which is not good at all. But in September, the law was adopted and then signed by the president. The officials were unequivocal. The law is good. I'm very positive about the law on education. This is a fundamental law. It will allow our education to meet European standards. I support it entirely. It changes the approach to education. I will trust it. Moreover, President Petro Poroshenko himself took pride in the newly adopted law. I'm convinced that education is the key to Ukraine's European future. Investing in education isn't expending budget money. It's investing. But the officials themselves continue investing in their children outside of Ukraine, while going out of their way to praise the Ukrainian education system. Take Maxim Burbak, head of People's Front parliamentary fraction. His daughter Katerina enrolled at one of the best universities in the UK, the City University of London. She studies there at the Cass Business School. It's in the top 10 business schools in the world. Burbak promises that as soon as she graduates, she will return to Ukraine to share her expertise. She made her own choice, and I think that when children study and then they return and work for our country, it's the best gift our country can get. Thank you. How much did you spend? Thanks, goodbye, I don't know. The head of the People's Front didn't want to talk about the cost of this education, despite being a rather wealthy person. Excuse me, I gave you my attention already. But that's not a hard question. The cost begins at $20,000 a year, not counting the living, eating, and recreation expenses. What can you say about the current level of Ukrainian education? I think our level is high. Because I'm still sure, and I've talked to many professors, our people have a very high level of teaching abilities. But as they say, there's always room for improvement. Artur Gerasimov, leader of Petro Poroshenko bloc fraction, is confident that it requires improvement. He also thinks that Ukraine requires foreign experience, so his daughter studies at a Canadian prep school in Bronte. The school prides itself on its alumni getting into the best US, UK, and Canadian universities. That means that Gerasimov's daughter, being able to enter any university in the world, would return to Ukraine? That doesn't sound right. especially considering the price of studying at the prep school, which is at least $20,000 a year, depending on the field. We couldn't get more answers from the fraction head about why they chose this school and what Katerina studies there, but we really wanted to. Can I have a word with you? Excuse me, the vote has already started. I'll be back, don't worry. Are you sure? Thank you. Ihor Kononenko, an MP and a proponent of European education, could bring a whole European university to his daughter, considering his vast business. But he decided to save money and sent his daughter there instead. My younger daughter entered the Marangoni School of Fashion in Paris. I'm very proud of her. My middle daughter studied in Switzerland but returned to Ukraine, and she has been working here for 2 years, sharing her knowledge and experience. Before entering the Paris University, the younger daughter also studied in Switzerland at the Tassis School, famed for its economical education. The middle daughter is an alumni of the Glion Institute, which specializes in hotel business. You can save on anything, but you have to invest in your children if you have the ability and the money to do so. I have the ability, so I'm not cutting corners. That's right, so how much do you pay annually? As of today, my younger daughter's education costs an average of €17,000 a year. And the eldest daughter who entered university? I don't remember. She graduated 2 years ago. I think it's the same amount. At least $35,000 a year for both daughters, not including their travels and recreation. Ola, Konenko's youngest daughter, graduated her Swiss school this year and had a splendid celebration on that occasion, complete with changing dresses, a yacht party, and several banquets. It's the responsibility of the Ukrainian government to defend the Ukrainian language, to grant the right to know Ukrainian to every citizen of the country, to be able to achieve higher education, and to be employed. Irina Hiroshenko's daughter opted to study in English. Anna studied in the UK and now lives in London. Her LinkedIn account lists the University of Reading, the BPP Law School, and some Cambridge courses. Seems like Irina Hiroshenko doesn't like being asked about the price. She even lied to us at first. We wanted to ask you about your children. My children are young. Your daughter, Anna, she studies in London. She has finished her studies, and she has also finished a Ukrainian university, the Tarasa Shevchenko National University. She had a law degree there. And my other children are too young, thank you. We wanted to talk about her living in London, and having studied in London. Her page confirms it. We wanted to know how much it could have costed. You're so on top of it, thank you. Victoria Sumar, an ex-journalist and now People's Front MP, has also sent her daughter Sofia off to study in the UK until the education in Ukraine improves. I hope that we will improve the education system. So about my daughter. I'm a single mother. I work a lot. And we decided that she would study at a boarding school. Ordinary dormitory, ordinary conditions. But even without special privileges, British education is far from cheap. Could you tell me where and how much do you spend? Ihor Kononenko told us that he spent $17,000 on one daughter's education, and that's only on education. How much do you spend? I spend approximately the same amount. And that was our collective decision with my family, my ex-husband, and his family. Not only members of parliament opt for foreign education, judges and prosecutors tend to invest in their children as well. Victoria, daughter of Svetlana Shelest and a judge of a court of appeal in Kyiv, studied law in the City University of London. Svetlana herself was a subject of a journalistic investigation when she got a $1 million apartment in Kyiv. Seems that it wasn't so hard to send her daughter off to study in the UK. My daughter had the best opportunities to study abroad thanks to her parents and mine. My father has a private business, a gas station, and that was his decision. She is a judge, her husband a civil servant. So all the brand clothes and accessories for her daughter were bought on proceedings from a single gas station. I'm a bailiff. The hearing has ended. I'll go prepare for the next one. According to which law do you have to attend it? Goodbye. Mikhailo Lidovsky, deputy head of the Prosecutor General's Department, also did not entrust his daughter to Ukrainian education. Valeria studied at the Swiss College du Liman at about $30,000 a year, but Mikhailo Lidovsky was reluctant to boast of his daughter's education. It's a family matter. I can't tell you. It's about my daughter. She's an adult. Why can't you tell us? You're a deputy of an important department. This information should be public. Excuse me, I just don't want to. From your greedy eyes, the scales will fall away, and you will then behold the glory, the living glory of your grandsires, and the fathers skilled in knavery. Do not fool yourselves, my brothers. Study, read, and learn. We believe that someday it won't be embarrassing to show a Ukrainian diploma. Until then, we can just observe the children of Ukrainian politicians getting education abroad. Study, read, and learn thoroughly the foreign things, but do not shun your own. That's all for today. Watch us on YouTube, write us on social media, and if you have an interesting idea, feel free to email us. See you on air in a week. Goodbye.